I got a reading for you from the Gospel of Thomas. I want to go over. It is Logion 7. Jesus said, "Blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man, and cursed is the man whom the lion consumes and the lion becomes man." Greetings and welcome to Reboot You. In the West, especially in America, we have very divisive politics. And one of the surprising things that they've done is they have taken a term that was usually considered to be a very positive term, especially for people who are looking for spirituality, who are on the mystic's path, and they've turned it into a negative phrase. And of course, that term is woke. Now, I'm not here to discuss the merits of what is known as woke ideology in America. You can discuss that yourselves. But I will tell you, I find the fact that the people who labeled it woke chose the term woke. Why wouldn't they pick another term? They could have picked any term. But I think they purposely picked the term woke because it's a method of control and by keeping people asleep. You see, people used to strive for events that they would call awakening events, enlightenment, illumination. This was when, typically some people would say it's the resolution of dual opposites. It's when you encounter God, various things, right? We know that ancient religions, all kinds of youths go out into the woods on their vision quest. Jesus went to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. Arjuna, had an enlightenment event through the Bhagavad Gita. It was a longer one. It was more of like a Gnostic gnosis event, actually, where he, through knowledge from Lord Krishna, of course, he had the experience of the divine too. Right? But he became, at the end, he was awoke, right? He was Jiva Mukta. Okay? And so they took this term, which, was used with reverence amongst those who knew, and they turned it into a weapon. And if you think about it, that's brilliant. And again, I'm not talking about the politics of it. I'm not saying anything for or against it here. I don't think this is the place for that. But I'm saying that they picked that term as pure genius. And why am I saying it's pure genius? Well, I'm saying that because how better for them to control the masses? Back to that passage one more time. Blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man, and cursed is the man whom the lion consumes and the lion becomes man. You are blessed when you consume the creative force, otherwise known as Saklas, Samael, Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge. The Demiurge in the Gospel of Thomas is not a malevolent being. Instead, it's a misguided force. Okay. And Jesus flat out says the lion here, which is the Demiurge, of course, is blessed when it's consumed by you, when it's overcome by you. You're both blessed. It's blessed and you're blessed. And why wouldn't it be? It's just ignorant. It's a thing, right? And so if you're using this thing and you consume it with your divine purpose for good, then you're both blessed. But what if you are consumed by it? You are consumed by it. Then you're cursed. Now, remember what I said earlier. You might say, well, why would God create a curse or a blessed? Because they must exist. You can't have one without the other. You can't have blessed without cursed. There are two opposite states. And so we know that the majority of the people, unfortunately, are still asleep. And there are people who are awake who don't necessarily have the best of intentions. Let's just put it that way. And I'm not going to call these people bad. I'm not going to call them good. I'll just say that perhaps they have been consumed by the lion. So these people could be very smart. They could be extremely creative. They could do really big things. But they're consumed by the creative force. They're consumed by this world. This world swallows them whole. And so it goes to, absolute or power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so they become cursed. And we see this a lot, especially in the West. Well, I'm in the West, so I'm going to see it in the West. Peter Thiel, I hear him talking about the demiurge. Here's a man who has billions and billions of dollars. And yet, every time he does an interview, he looks like a nervous wreck. And he talks about death nonstop and how, you can tell he's extremely desperate for transhumanism to save him so that he can live forever. Why? Because he has been consumed by the lion. The lion can also be seen, the demiurge, as your ego. The ego is your creative force. It is what's able to create these visions in your head. Visions that allow people to do amazing things, allowed Tesla to create inventions. He could test them all out right in his head before he went and started doing them physically in the real world. Allowed Einstein to peer into space and do thought experiments. But as we know, as the mystic knows, when the ego consumes you, when the creative force in that sense, it consumes you, it starts to think that it's all there is. Sound familiar? And since it's all there is, it doesn't want to die. It's terribly, terribly afraid of an end, of death. And this is a physical trigger within it from being a part of this physical world, specifically evolution, right? Evolution was formed using zero-sum game mentality. Us versus them. Dog eat dog world. The ego, seen by some, survival instinct. It was there to keep us safe. Oh, there's a lion. You better run. There's a snake. Stay away. Danger. As we got safer, though, it allowed us to manipulate scenarios in our head. And not just use them for bad things, but also good things. But a lot of people, unfortunately, use it for bad things. And I'm not talking about like Peter Thiel or whatever. I'm saying people who worry too much. They'll imagine they're sick. People who can't leave their house. They imagine that there's danger outside their house. Those are egos that are malfunctioning in a very destructive way. But it also can malfunction in the sense that it has in these billionaires that are afraid to die. because they don't understand that there's more to them than this ego. That this ego is just a thing. It's just a part of this physical world. And that there's more to it than that. Even if you believe only in physicality. Especially if you only believe in physicality. Let's not say even if, especially if you only believe in physicality, then there is nothing else. So there is nowhere else for your essence to go. There is no end. There cannot be. Okay? And so, blessed are you, the mystic, who look at your ego and you consume your ego. You say, hey, you're a tool that I can utilize. But I'm more than you. You're just a part of me. And then blessed is your ego because it can stop worrying so much. I go to a friend's church. He runs a we call it a Bible study, but it's not really a Bible study. It's at a, what is it called? Episcopalian church. Maybe I'll go tomorrow morning. And he'll discuss is this map done yet? He'll discuss very interesting topics. I have this map going in honor of my brother, who was a big fan of Doom. He passed away. Anyways, we'll discuss the Nag Hammadi text, which, some people would say you shouldn't be discussing at church, but we discuss all kinds of things, read different books from other religions, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of a spirituality, just like a lesson class. And one day this lady had come in, and she's a really nice lady. She's older. And I forgot what we were discussing, but we're discussing, I believe we were discussing Lord Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita. And I had said something to her. And I remember she made this comment. She looked at me. We were discussing the idea that, when you die, your ego, your personality can cease, right? But it doesn't mean that your essence is gone. And she really struggled with that. She's like, well, what happens to me? And I was like, well, what do you mean you? And she's like, well, me, my personality, who I am, the things I like, this and that. And as I looked at her, I realized that is the lion. The lion clings. It's so scared of not being that it will cling to any promise, any hope that it gets to be. And I find that very sad. I find that extremely sad. And I think that there are people who know this and they try to help other people. And those people I would call, like Jesus, the Buddha, anybody, any of these great religious figures. But then I also, are just spiritual figures. But then I believe there's people who know this, but they don't try to help people. So I do think that you could know this, you could understand this, but you don't necessarily have to be a good person. You could still be like, well, I understand this, but I want to exploit this system. I don't have an example for that necessarily. But I do believe that type of person can exist. But then I also believe that you have people who know about the ego's cleanliness. Maybe they don't know that you can consume it and that you can overcome it, but they do understand its clinginess, and they manipulate that in other people to their own end. And so those to me would be the rulers of this world. The majority of them, not all of them. Of course, there's good people out there that are in office in various different places, but a lot of the people, unfortunately, in governments around the world are probably consumed by the lion. And so when you look at this is the question you have to ask is, what are you? Are you consumed by the lion, or have you consumed the lion? Right? I want to be very crystal clear too. When I say this, I'm not telling you to become reckless. Oh, this guy is saying, I don't have to worry about things. I can do whatever. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is attachment, as we learn in the Bhagavad Gita, as we learn from the Buddha. Attachment is the cause of all suffering. And you can try to live your best life, but don't be attached to things as much as possible. It's almost, I would say, remember that we are physical beings created by nature, created by a method that required attachment. So to pretend that we can just automatically be like, hey, I'm not going to be attached to anything, that's very simplistic thinking. It's a practice, is what it is. It's a daily thing. And when you mess up, it's not a big deal. You just, okay, yep, I recognize it. I'm going to try to move on to the next situation. I believe that's the path. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Have a great day. Where's the thing to turn this off? There it is.